Well, we begin with a story, first of all, that looks at domestic borrowing. It has hit 292 billion shillings in the 2014-2015 financial year. The money raised beat the initial 190 billion shillings that had been targeted by Treasury for the just concluded financial year. This comes amidst plans by the government to reduce local borrowing so as to assist the private sector and make credit more affordable. But as Adelaide Changole tells us, this is not the only thing that the government reneged on last year.
When the government issued its inaugural $2 billion Eurobond in June last year, it said the proceeds of the issuance would quench its appetite for local debt. As a result, the state revised downwards its domestic borrowing target from 190 billion shillings to 118 billion for the full year to June 2015.
We will reduce government borrowing from the domestic markets, thereby helping drive down interest rates.
But it would seem the government not only surpassed its 118 billion shilling target, it burst past its initial target of 190 billion shillings to borrow a whopping 292 billion shillings from the local market. The 188% increase in domestic borrowing came on the back of depressed collection of loans and grants from foreign governments and international organizations. The state also had to contend with lower than expected tax collection. With that, the local market became the next best option. But the decision came at a steep cost for the government, which had to fork out higher interest rates to attract investors.
Investors want higher yields, basically. And that's really a concern. It shows it's like betting. They are not willing to bet that much on our economy.
Every additional shilling that we borrow is more expensive than the one that came before it.
The higher yields trickled down to the average Kenyan, who had to pay higher interest rates to access debt. This increased the cost of doing business, weakened credit growth, and impeded economic development.
And so one of the things that they do is the interest rates will rise. So the kind of interest rates we've been afforded before, by virtue of the fact that people have more confidence in our ability to pay.
The National Treasury announced that the state is planning to borrow 229.7 billion shillings from the local market in the 2015-2016 financial year, adding more pain to the businesses and borrowers who will be crowded out in the process. It could also push up the government's total debt past the current 51% of GDP to unsustainable levels.
The government needs to clearly define for us the kind of debt management strategy that they are taking on.
There's a lot we can do in terms of managing our debt so as to minimize the cost and so forth.
Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Interesting revelations there around debt financing. Well, it's now time to take a quick look at something we had a chit-chat with Linda Ogutu about. How powerful is the Kenyan passport? Well, the recent ranking shows that the Kenyan passport is ranked 50th in the world out of 199 indexed passports. And this index actually came through from Arton Capital, a financial advisory firm that specializes in procuring multiple citizenships. So what does this mean? What can you do with your passport? Passport holders enjoy visa-free access to 68 countries in the world. I know most Kenyans really travel across the region, but now we can access over 68 countries. And which are these 68 countries? Well, one of them is Mauritius. We also have Hong Kong. We also have Malaysia. Among other countries, Jamaica, Bahamas, Ethiopia, and the list goes on. Philippines, Singapore, all these are countries you can visit with your passport. You just need an air ticket. The other interesting issue is that why does it matter to a traveler? Well, visa-free travel facilitates doing business in foreign territories. This means you can cross over to a country where you feel you want to set up or you want to buy stuff, let's say even if it's Hong Kong. Well, now you know that. The other interesting bit is that with a passport that has access to as many as 68 countries, you have the luxury of leisure travel, which reduces the cost and administration hassles of international travel. So, I know you're wondering, how do we fare against other countries? Well, in East Africa, Kenya has a leg up on the rest of the sub-region. The second most useful passport in the region belongs to Tanzania. Tanzania follows us closely, which has access to 61 countries, as we have access to 68 countries. So the other countries that are not doing so favorably when it comes to the ranking of their passports include Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, and Eritrea, which are less fortunate with visa-free access, which limits them to about 38 countries. This sort of shows us the ranking where we stand as a country. And which other countries should you look out for? The United Kingdom and the United States, they share the highest passport power rank in the index, with access to 147 countries. Well, we hope one day the Kenyan passport can reach that level where, in case you need to travel to, let's say, countries like Canada, you don't really need to get that visa.